Hiya! Welcome! Back once again with another Minidisc Monday, and today I'm going to look at an American band, a punk rock band if you will. I'm looking at the 5th studio album from The Offspring. This is Americana.
You know it's kinda hard just to get along today. Our subject isn't cool, but he fakes it anyway. He may not have a clue and he may not have style, but everything he lacks, well, he makes a big denial. So do these things, play that straight. You know he really doesn't get it anyway. He's gonna play the field, keep it real. For you know it, for you know it. So if you know right, so for compensate. Make sure you know you can't always go on regulate. The world needs one of these. Hey, hey, do that brand new thing.
Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby.
All the girlies say I'm pretty fly.
For a white guy.
Need some cool tunes, that's just anywhere to fight. But they didn't have Ice Cube, so he bought vanilla.
So this is the only Offspring album I've ever heard, and I've only listened to it in full for the second time in my life just now before recording this review here. Produced by Dave Jerden, it says on the back. I think that was his second and final act of production for the Orange County, California group. This did well in the UK, it got to number 10 and it spawned 2 top 10 singles including a number 1. We'll get onto those later. Before we talk about the tracks themselves, let's have a look at this package here. So quite a nice condition case actually. As is always the case, I bought this many years ago, so can't remember the price. I'm assuming it was pretty reasonable, as this would have been kind of an impulse purchase for me. I've never bought any Offspring albums before or since. I did own one of the singles on CD from here, which we'll get onto later. Hype sticker there that lists basically all 4 singles, and as we open the case, there's the disc with the colourful artwork, and then flip it over, we've got the track listing and a little bit of legal bump. As for the insert, it came with one of these old MVC stickers stuck to it. Does anyone remember MVC? It was a pretty prominent high street chain selling CDs, videos and stuff back in the UK in the late 90s. Folds out into a not too long, fortunately, concertina style booklet here with all the song lyrics, and there's some production notes as well. It tells you who the Offspring are, or who they were at that time anyway. The Offspring are a bit of a funny one for me. I think they've made some really catchy songs over their long career. They've been going since the mid-80s. This came out late 1998, I think. So they're quite well established domestically and internationally, certainly by the time Americana came out. I've never really felt inclined to investigate them further, and it was good for me to be able to review this today because it'd been so many years since I'd heard this album, I couldn't remember if I liked it or not. So we'll go through it, and then I'll be able to give you my final thoughts on whether I did like it. So it opens with Welcome, which has a very amusing kind of automated telephone voice sample in it. I don't know if sample's the right word because they'll have made it themselves somehow, but just that sort of very false robotic way of talking when you're listening to an automated phone message, that sort of thing. Yeah, good start that. Have You Ever is track number 2, very high energy as you would expect. Staring at the Sun, track 3, enjoyed that. Now then, we come on to the big hitters. Pretty Fly for a White Guy is track number 4. It was a number 1 here in the UK. Surprisingly, it didn't actually do too well in America. In the normal Billboard chart anyway, I think it did pretty well in kind of alternative and rock related charts in the US. But the actual normal Billboard chart, it got like 50 something, I think. It's a parody, obviously, of kind of the hip hop culture at the time. the lyrics are sort of making fun of a guy who appropriates the sort of rap and hip-hop sort of subculture and lifestyle to make himself feel kind of tough and cool. And you know, it's a kind of statement upon what was obviously very prevalent with American youth at the time. It works well. I never really liked the song that much when it first came out. I thought it was kind of novelty, and I suppose it still is really. And I guess it's one of those that if you're a hardcore and original OG Offspring fan, it's maybe one that is like, well, no, they've done better stuff, and I can well believe it. But it remains their biggest hit in, I think, most countries really. Number 5 is The Kids Aren't Alright. The title of that is playing off The Kids Are Alright by The Who, but the melody is actually sort of very heavily influenced by Electricity by OMD, funnily enough. I certainly heard some similarities between the two. Good song and a good choice for a single. I think it got to the top 20 here in the UK. Number 6 is Feelings. 7 is She's Got Issues. There again, these are all decent tracks. My problem really with this album, or with the Offspring in general really, rather than the album, because lyrically it's pretty good for the most part. Yes, the singer Dexter Holland is kind of saying shit and fuck now and again, you know, trying to be down with the kids, and that sort of leads on to my problem with it really. The Offspring at this point would have been a band in their, mid-30s probably. Certainly Dexter Holland would have been around age 35 when this came out. And his style of voice, I mean, he kind of sounds like he should be 10 to 15 years younger than he is. And I think that works when you are a young, angry punk band with that sort of sneery, almost not whiny, but that real kind of irreverent, anti-establishment sort of vocal style. But when you're kind of getting on to nearly your 40th birthday, it starts to look a bit kind of like self-parody really. And it's deliberately parodying stuff. I think Feelings, track number 6 on here, that was a cover, sort of a cover of a famous song from the 70s. I can't remember the artist, I'll put it on screen. But it was a parody of it really, because Dexter Holland had rewritten the lyrics. So 7, She's Got Issues. 8, Walla Walla, which I enjoyed. You know, none of these songs are particularly long, which is good. You know, they're proper punk size songs in that they don't go on forever and ever, with the arguable exception of the final track on the album. Number 9, The End of the Line. Number 10 is No Breaks. Once again, kind of a melody stolen there. That really borrows heavily from Ace of Spades by Motorhead. Number 11 is my favourite on the album, and the one Offspring CD single that I bought back in the day. That would have been in 1999 when the single came out. Why Don't You Get a Job? And yes, it really is Obla Dee Obla Da by the Beatles, but rewritten and done in a punky style. Yeah, it's identical melody wise really, but it's so much fun, that single. I've always liked that. Holland's vocals sound good in it. I like the fact they've used sort of steel drum and horns in it to really give it that kind of cod reggae or cod ska vibe, I suppose I should say, which is what the Beatles did sort of, you know, 25 years previous really, with Obla Dee Obla Da. The penultimate track is the title track, Americana. Americana actually kind of ended up being a concept album really, as you can no doubt imagine. When they realised they were writing about themes to do with the sort of Americana that nobody kind of talks about in the media, the sort of maybe not seedy side, but the kind of less glamorous side of American life, you know, they kind of ended up with a concept album here, but they only really realised that once they started writing and recording it. And track 13, which is seemingly the final track, is quite a long one, Pay the Man. It's actually quite sort of Middle Eastern and almost Indian in places, this, and then it kind of transforms itself into a little more of a standard Offspring song. And although it went on a little bit long for my liking compared to the other tracks, which are all sort of around the 2 to 3 minute mark, It was a decent album closer, except it wasn't the closer, because if you waited long enough after Pay the Man ends, you get a sort of mariachi band cover or alternate version of Pretty Fly for a White Guy. So that's your proper ending. And yeah, just a little bit of a joke. I mean, the Offspring obviously aren't taking themselves too seriously throughout a lot of this, but they have got some interesting and, at least at the time, culturally important things to say on this album. So I like this album. I have problems with knowing that really they're getting a little bit old to be doing the whole kind of teen or early 20-something punk kind of vibe here, but it's very listenable. Some catchy songs on here. I like that they wear their references on their sleeve, really. You know, they're really influenced by the Beatles, Motorhead, The Who, OMD, weirdly enough, among others. There's other melodies throughout this album, and I know them, but I can't really think of exactly who they're nicking off, really. So it's a kind of medium recommendation for me, this. I don't really want to listen to more Offspring albums unless someone gave me one or advised me to do so when I went away and did it. But I'm glad I've got this. I'm glad I listened to it again. I did enjoy Americana by The Offspring. And that's today's Minidisc Monday all wrapped up. Thank you for watching with me today. I want to say special thanks to my subscribers and of course my beloved wonderful patrons. I'm going to go now, and please will you join me again in a fortnight's time, that's 14 days mathematics fans, for the next edition of Minidisc Monday. Cheers everyone. See ya!